I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space.
What up, what up? This is your boy Rob Clark welcoming you to the 22 November Network. Get ready for another exciting edition of the Lone Gunman Podcast featuring me. That's right, your boy Rob Clark coming at you. Stay tuned. Be right there. Hello, and welcome to the show. This is your boy Rob Clark on the Lone Gunman Podcast, episode number 50. I cannot, for the life of me, believe that we are on number 50 already. And today, I have a very special guest for you. He is the creator, owner of the Neapolis Media Group, and soon-to-be author of the hopefully going to be published this year, Two Princes and a King book, where he talks about John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King. I bring to you my new friend, Mr. Carmine Savastano. How you doing, Carmine?
Good, Rob. How you doing?
Good, sir. Glad to have you on the show, my friend. We've been talking on Facebook for quite a while now, and we've already had a hell of a roller coaster ride, haven't we?
Yeah, it's been interesting, I'll say that.
See, everybody that's not in my Garrison group probably doesn't know this, but there was a guy who used to go by the name of Savastano, better known to some people or outed to some people as Dave Sharp, who is a noted nut job in the research community.
Yes, troll extraordinaire.
Yeah, former proprietor of JFKMontreal.com. Some of you might have heard from him from there. And loves to call people Nazis and blame the Jews for everything. And
he's a real peach.
Yeah. He's a real asshole. So I'm glad we outed him, and people like that just need to go on somewhere, because I'm tired of dealing with these frauds and these liars, and it's just a gigantic roadblock on the road to research. And what impressed me about you is you're a man after my own heart. You like to back up what you say with documents.
Thanks.
And
it's necessary, I think.
Right. It negates that part of the argument before it even starts. That, the prove it, or that's bullshit, or, before it even starts, you can say, well, look, here's the document. This is what we have to go on. This is the evidence we have to go on. Now, whether you choose to buy into an official FBI document or CIA document, of course, that's everybody's own prerogative, but it's what we have to go on, and not much else, because eyewitness testimony is not always reliable,
No, I totally agree with you. I think that a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that all the official evidence is altered, and that's not the case. And the reason is not because they would. They would. They would have altered everything if they could. But because the FBI and the CIA redacted everything even from the Warren Commission. The Commission never had all that. So the Commission never saw it. They couldn't alter it. So it was all hidden away. So now that it came out after the JFK Act, it's all in the open. And they can't... How long do you think it would take to go through tens of millions of pages of original documents and try to alter them without leaving a trace?
Exactly. And even though at the time Allen Dulles wasn't officially with the CIA, he had to be acting on their behalf as part of the Warren Commission. You know, the old saying, once you're CIA, you're always CIA, you know?
Exactly. You can leave the agency doesn't leave you.
Exactly.
One of the documents I have is actually an interview Dulles did with a CIA agent during the Commission investigation where he was giving them advice on some of the questions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of documents, when I first approached you about being on the show, I wanted to talk about some documents, and maybe we can focus on a few of them here today. But before we do that, just tell everybody a little bit about yourself in case they don't know who you are. I mean, if my target audience doesn't know who you are by now, then they've got a serious problem. But go ahead and let the people that don't know and maybe are not on Facebook but do listen to the show exactly, you know, who you are and maybe how you got interested in the case.
Well, I don't expect a lot of people to know who I am. I'm just another foot soldier in the research movement. I got interested, funny enough, when the first time I ever got interested in it, I was 10 years old. I was going through my father's closet, which I wasn't supposed to be in, and I found a stack of newspapers that he had saved from when he was a kid, when Kennedy had gotten assassinated. Oh, so I started looking at them, and I asked him about them, and we talked about them, and that was pretty much the end of it. Then when I was 14, I went and saw JFK, and I loved it, and I thought it was true, because I was 14.
Right.
And it's a movie. So, throughout high school and, you know, into my younger adulthood, I was convinced that it was Oswald because that's what I was told. I was told that by my teachers. I was told that by people I talked to about it. There was no reason to doubt them because I had never looked at the evidence.
Right.
So eventually, I got into the case about 6 years ago, and I put in pretty much a significant amount of time every week for the past 2 years since I started writing. This book. I did some writing before, but this is what I've decided to focus on. So I got involved in the groups. You know, I watched for a while, and I noticed the sort of behavior that we talked about with Dave Sharp and others, such as Judith Baker and her minions.
Yep.
And I got tired of it.
Yeah, it's all a big distraction and a gigantic roadblock to real research.
Yeah, so I've been doing research still, but I've actually put aside time just for finding people like them, outing them, and showing everyone why the evidence doesn't agree with anything they say.
Right, and I've got nothing but respect for that because I did the same thing back when the Oswald Innocence campaign was starting up and they were pushing this Oswald in the doorway bullshit.
Yeah.
And people were buying into it left and right, and I'm like, no. And I almost felt like like an obligation to right the wrong and to set everybody straight and to say, look, these guys have got it wrong, and here's why. Here's the evidence. Here's the documents, the testimony, the photograph to back it all up. You know, they can't back up a thing they say with anything but opinion.
Yeah, no, and that's why they rely on insults, because they don't have evidence. They have to try to insult and degrade the person they're talking to, because they can't prove anything they're saying. And it's the same thing with JVB, it's the same thing with Ralph Sink, it's the same thing with Fetzer, it's the same thing with all of them. They just say insults, and they try to call you all manner of things like Dave Sharp and his stupid Nazi stuff, because they don't have evidence. You know, they have an idea, and they have some stuff to sell, and they want you to buy it.
Right.
That's it. That's basically it. They got some stuff they need to sell, and they don't care how to sell it, but you need to buy it.
Exactly. Well, I gotta say, mission accomplished with that dude, because when I first got on Facebook a couple years ago, Ralph and Richard Hook and all these guys, the whole group of them were in all kinds of Facebook groups. I mean, all of them.
Well, they still are. They're still out there pushing their stuff.
Yeah, but they've been relegated. They've been relegated to the nut job groups, because most of the respectable ones they're not in anymore.
I mean, yeah, and I hope that it continues, and I plan on being a part of the movement to make it continue, because we're done dealing with these people. You know, they've had years to prove their myths, and they failed. So why are we wasting any more time on them?
Right. Well, that's the conclusion I came to after 2 years of heavily blogging, like 30 blog posts about it, and I did all I could do and put everything out there that I could put out there about it. And I was like, okay, I'm done with this shit now. It's back to the task at hand, back to doing real research, doing this.
I hope I don't have too much longer, but, if they keep mentioning me, I'm going to keep showing up. So my message to them is, stop talking. If you don't stop talking about me, I'm not going away. And the longer you talk, the more I'll reveal. So you're just going to hang yourselves with your own rope.
Exactly. And these people, they just don't learn. I mean, you'd think by now that they would learn, but they don't learn. They just keep doing what they're doing. Well, hopefully you're right. Hopefully you're right.
Well, at least learn to be quiet.
Right. Or back up what they say with real evidence, and then we can have a conversation,
Exactly. I'm all for them talking, but have some evidence if you're going to talk.
Yeah.
I think everyone, I said this in the Venture group earlier, which is a great group for those who like total honesty and jokes.
Right. I mean, I think it was sorely needed in the research community, a group like that where just anything goes.
Yeah. And you know what? You'll notice too that even in that group, there are people who use evidence, and there are people who use insults.
Exactly. Or both.
It doesn't. It's like, how can people not notice the pattern? They always say the same things over and over. My favorite from Baker is, read the book. What?
Yeah.
Why? How about just give us some evidence? This isn't a magic show. I don't want you to make it appear later after I give you my money. I want you to tell me something. I mean, I plan on having a book come out, but on my blog for free, which I tried to remind Dave about when he tried to charge me $39.95 for his stupid PDF.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. Class. They call him the research kid.
Oh my God.
Or Bluegrass Dave, if you've listened to his music.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I'm gonna try something here.
Are you gonna play us a sample from Bluegrass Dave?
I'm gonna play us a sample from Dave Sharp, in the Dave Sharp 5 or whatever the hell his group's called here. And if for some reason this doesn't work and hangs up on you, don't panic. I will call you right back.
That's fine. Dave and the Trolls coming up, guys.
Yeah, Dave. Oh my lordy! All right, let's see if this works here. Because I actually had to bookmark this page just to make sure I didn't lose it again.
Oh, don't worry, I've got it saved. There's nothing funnier than the name of that CD, man. Rural Roots, come on, that's priceless.
Yeah, and that picture on the front looks like a. Oh, damn! I'm having a brain fart. That guy that used to do the paintings with the big hair.
Oh, I know exactly.
Ross, maybe I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what the cover of his album looks like. It looks like one of those paintings that guy does, whips up in like 5 minutes. All right.
Yeah, no.
Do you have a request, Carmine, or?
Well, I was thinking that Born Under a Bad Sign was kind of funny.
All right.
Considering the topic.
Let's see if we can get this here. Like I said, don't panic. If something happens, I'll call you right back.
That's fine.
Yep, not gonna play.
Wow. Anybody? Anybody who knows somebody from Garrison, the link's in there, and I can post it if someone wants to see it somewhere else.
Yeah, well, I'll post the link up to this little page. You can listen to every song on the album over on tlgpodcast.com. That's right, people. There is a new site that you can go for everything, the Lone Gunman Podcast. It's real simple, tlgpodcast.com. That's where all the new shows will be posted. And there's even a forum there that we can talk about the episodes. You can comment on the episodes if you like. And it's just getting up and running, so it's not totally 100% complete yet, but it's cool. So check it out, tlgpodcast.com. That's where you can find the links to the awesome Dave Sharp Country Bluegrass with crossover pop, rockabilly, and 60s rock.
Nice. Hey, Dave, you got a plug. Congratulations.
Oh, my gosh. Horrible. All right, let's leave these fools behind, Carmine, and let's move on to some real live documents. Now, some of the ones you sent me that we're going to talk about today, let me pull them up real quick here for quick reference, if I can find them. I have like 8,000 Google Gmail accounts. Here we go. All right, I guess we can start, if you like, with the first one.
Sure.
Which is a CIA document that confirms that the CIA had no photographs of Oswald in Mexico City, despite the camera operations, phone taps, destroyed tapes, and penetration agents in the Soviet embassy. They failed to prove a thing. And before we get into talking about this, let me also mention that I'll post the links up to all these documents over at tlgpodcast.com with this show, so you can go check them out for yourself with your own eyes. So tell us a little bit about this first document here about Mexico City, Carmine.
Well, this document is one of my favorites, because often you'll hear the commission talk about how that Oswald, they have so much proof of him going to so much proof in Mexico City that look back, they don't. If you actually check their evidence, which was denied, you have to understand, because Dulles and ultimately McCone decided not to share any of the internal files with the commission, they were denied anything from Mexico City that the CIA did not give them. Even Hoover had a hard time. When I was prior discussing it with Chuck Ocelli, he was telling me about how Hoover had a hard time getting a hold of any of the CIA documents too.
Yeah, I remember seeing the Hoover document about wondering if Oswald was in Mexico or traveling, if I'm remembering right.
The agency really tried to clamp down, just like the FBI, which was another problem for the commission. These were the two investigating arms, and they basically hobbled themselves because they knew that it would implicate so many of their own plots. I think a lot of times people get confused because of what you and I have, I'm sure we've probably discussed. We were able to cut down the commission timeline to 72 hours or less.
Right.
So, all the stuff before is not feasibly connected directly to the assassination. If Oswald can't know about it until 19th, then he can't be planning for it in Mexico City. So that basically busts their whole prior case. Exactly.
And then the old adage applies, if you don't have photographs of it, it didn't happen,
And they don't just not have photographs. They don't have tapes. They don't have anything, registration agents. They don't have anything. They have him coming into Mexico,
right,
and maybe even getting to Mexico City, but never showing up in those two places.
Right, and I know people out there have seen the supposed Oswald in Mexico photographs, and I believe there is an audio tape alluded to, which I think Hoover said was not Oswald on the tape.
Well, in one of the spoken Spanish, which Oswald didn't speak.
Right.
And Winston pointed that out to the rest of the agency, and they didn't say anything.
Right, and the photographs that they were putting out as Oswald is obviously not Oswald. It looks like a random Russian guy, what it looks like to me.
Yeah, and the one that Silka Duran spoke to was a short blonde-haired redhead, so that wasn't him either.
Right.
So apparently, now who knows? I mean, I don't like speculating, but I will at least go with this. I think this is a feasible idea. Maybe Oswald was being used to be set up for something. Now, someone have known about this assassination later on, that's possible. Maybe he was just, a dupe for some other intelligence program, and he just was convenient later on.
Right. Yeah. You've heard the whole supposed reason, the original reason that Oswald wanted to go to Mexico was so he could hijack an airplane going into Cuba, and I guess somehow, make his way back to Russia, because at the beginning of '63, he had Marina writing the Soviet consulate and asking to go back to Russia. And then somewhere around April or May, what was just Marina turned into Oswald and Marina wanting to go back to Russia.
Yeah, they evolved. A lot of the stories connected with him evolved.
Right. And I know there was some chatter about exactly how to accomplish this, because I guess it wasn't happening through official channels. So he concocted this plan to supposedly hijack a Cuban airliner headed for Cuba. And I don't know what his plan was after that, but
it was. I highly suspect that was not his. That was just more misinformation thrown in. I've seen the document, or a document, it's probably more than one, that talked about that Morena was confirming that, but Morena also confirmed the unproven Nixon story. Morena also confirmed the unproven Walker story.
Right.
How many times did she say the wrong thing over and over? And some people want to give Morena a pass, saying that she was under the pressure of the government, but I'm sorry, that just doesn't wash with everything she said. The pressure of the government can make you go along with her story, but she said stuff like, I believe the government, they're right, my husband was guilty.
Right.
That's, if you love him, you're sealing his fate.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, his fate was already sealed at that point, but... Yeah,
but I mean, in public opinion.
Right.
And everybody doesn't seem to realize the fact that everyone has their own motivation. That Morena went through a lot, she suffered, and I'm sure so did the children, and they still are suffering from people like Judith Baker, who make their lives hard. But Morena also benefited. Morena got quite a bit of money from people who felt that.
Yes, she did.
Morena was given a lot of help. So, and because of all of her contrary statements, I'm not inclined to believe she's a reliable witness. And when I come across a witness like that, I then stack them up against the evidence, and what stacks with the evidence, I'll believe. But if there's no evidence for it, why should I believe what they say?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of what Marina says, and even to this day, some things are very, very hard to buy that she says, and I can't understand how somebody that's been in the country for over 40 years now, 50 years, can't speak English better than she can. I mean, seriously, what the hell is going on with that?
Well, it could be an affectation. Maybe she just uses it for, she wants to sound different still.
Oh my God. I mean, it sounds like she just got off the boat.
Or she's one of the people who doesn't want to assimilate.
Which could be true. I mean, she probably lived a relative life of hermitage with Ken Porter. Back to this document about Mexico City for a minute.
Sorry about the departure.
Oh, that's all right. We'll get there eventually. Now we know David Atlee Phillips was he head of Western Hemisphere Covert Operations?
Eventually. I don't think at the time he was. He eventually became that. I think he was just working in Mexico City under Winston Scott at the time.
And when Scott was the station chief?
Yeah, he was station chief.
Yeah, now I had heard another story, which I'll throw out there, that Oswald went to Mexico. Immediately after arriving in Mexico, boarded a plane to Ontario, Canada, for 3 days, and then turned around and came back. And while he was gone, this is when all these impersonations were taking place and the setup was taking place. Because I tell you what I find hard to get by, and I don't know if you've ever read the book, Passport to Assassination. Okay, well, it's written by, and I can't for the life of me remember the guy, I want to say not Yuri Nisenko, but something to that effect. It was a guy that was working in the Russian embassy in Mexico at the time. And he actually wrote a book about his experiences with an Oswald in Mexico. I mean, to the point where he was even relating the tale of Oswald coming into the Russian embassy, pretty much breaking down and begging, to get back to Russia, to the point where he was so distraught he mentioned killing Kennedy. He pulled a gun out and threatened to shoot himself. And it's just a weird, wild story. I mean, who knows what to believe, if you can believe it. I mean, it was written by...
In my opinion, I haven't read the book. It sounds a little bit, to me, unbelievable, because I'm not saying... I think Oswald definitely thought he was smarter than he was.
Right.
But I don't think he was dumb enough to do that.
No, I don't either. And, of course, this book came out around the same time as the movie JFK, when a lot of books did, just in order to cash in on the whole spectacle that was the JFK assassination. So it's hard to say.
Yeah. No, I'm always, as you know, people might start calling me Mr. Salt, because I take everything with a grain of salt. I don't care who the hell the witness is. I don't care what the official title is. Unless you got evidence, I'm not going to just wholesale buy anything.
Exactly. And I will point our listeners over to ctka.net. And a guy that I had on the show last week, David Josephs, he is in the process of writing a very extensive, I think it's 6 or 7 piece article on Oswald in Mexico. And Carmine, like you and me, DJ is a document guy. And he does a really good job of analyzing all the available evidence, digging out little nuggets out of these documents, and presenting a very plausible scenario that Oswald never even did go to Mexico. So I would point everybody there to check it out. And in the future, he's actually putting it all together into a book. And I'm going to have him back on the show to talk about his book when he does get that all done. But sorry for the aside there.
No problem. Hey, I'm always happy to hear other researchers using documents and getting involved. We need more of that. There's not enough. There's a lot of people who, like I said, when I was younger, I believed in the movie. But if you look at the evidence, the movie falls apart just like the commission does. No one is exactly who a lot of people think they are. We're all good and bad. We all make mistakes. You can find some integrity in people when they're willing to correct their mistakes and they're willing to accept other people's ideas.
Right.
It's those ones that, say that they are right no matter what, that are wrong.
Exactly. And I feel the same way. Because dude, I'm wrong about shit all the time. And
you know how many typographical errors I make? That's the funniest thing about people is when they find a typographical mistake. I've been debating, they're like, well, you made a typographical error. I'll go and I'll correct it and I'll say thank you. And they don't know what to do.
Grammar
like,
Nazis.
Okay, you do when you make a mistake.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has their own idea or opinions about this case and what they believe happened, based on, what they've learned about the case. And, of course, we're all at different levels at different times. And one of the big problems with, looking at a case this old and this shrouded in secrecy and this covered up, it's very, very hard to dig the truth out of all this stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's going to take a lot of them. I don't think people who solution. That's not going to happen. No
Right.
one person will solve this.
No, it's going to be a team effort, and like I refer to things as puzzle pieces. You know, it's just a piece of the puzzle that we haven't solved yet.
Yep.
You know, when you find something out that disagrees with something that maybe you thought previously held merit, then you have to reassess your whole idea and opinion about what happened. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're in the wrong business, you know?
Then you should buy Judith Baker's book.
Yes, read the book. Buy the book. Read the book. Buy the book.
That's what she said. Read the book. Read the book.
Well, that's the problem. When you ask her for documents and evidence, Carmine, she doesn't have any.
Yeah, it didn't work out.
Or
Well, what's funny about that whole, with all of them, it's not just her, it's all of them that act like her. If you ask them for documents, and I asked nicely, a lot of people did, and they've been asking for 15 years.
Exactly.
And they get treated as I was, but I'm not going to go away. She can't offend me. They can't make me mad. So, everyone might as well just start being more honest.
Exactly. And that's what I like about you, because you don't let them get to you, man. You know, you maintain your cool and keep prodding along. You know, just say, show me the evidence. Show me the documents.
Exactly. It's under they forget that we're all under the weight of the evidence. That we all have to prove what we say. And if we don't, then why should anyone care?
Exactly. Like I like to say, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
They do. And, a buddy of mine, Tim, put up something that I changed my Facebook picture to, which says, I believe in evidence in big letters.
Yeah, I saw that. I like that.
Because why would you believe in anything else? There's a lot of stories, like we're discussing about the document. There's a lot of stories that the CIA put out, and they're all not true, because they don't have evidence. So, why should we believe them? It applies both ways. Why should we believe people in the community if they have grand tales and they have no evidence?
Right. Well, and a lot of these people out there are not researchers. They are followers. They are...
Sales.
Yeah. It's just... I haven't quite figured out the problem yet with these people, but, a lot of them just have a casual interest in the assassination, and they're not researchers. They like things to be tied in a nice, neat little bow, and think that they've got it all figured out, and they attach themselves to these people that claim to be able to put a nice little bow on things and claim to have figured it all out. And, like people like Marty Eichler and all these little lapdogs that
I can name a bunch off the top of my head if you want me to.
Yes, please do.
Linda Belcher, Phoebe Moody. Wherever Judith shows up, they're not far behind.
Yeah, well, see, I blocked Marty, and I think the other two, well, I know Phoebe blocked me.
She blocked me, I got lucky.
Yeah.
It's always nicer when they'll just block you and get it over with.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, hang on, there's more. Richard Charnon, another one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he's a real peach. Richard and his list of unproven deaths.
Well, yeah, there's another Oswald Innocence campaign devotee.
Ugh.
He's got the same personality as Ralph.
Together so we know where they are.
Yeah.
Makes it easier.
I know.
Yeah, and like I said, what we both said, it just goes back to the simple thing of you gotta have some evidence. You can't just say whatever the hell you want to say and not prove it. I mean, you can, but look what happens. Eventually it catches up with you. You can't outrun your own claims.
Yeah, don't get mad when you get called to the carpet, and then all they've got left is insults.
Yeah, and they're a victim. Did you notice? I enjoyed the timing of as Baker got more exposed by different people in the community from both sides, I might add, which is important because it's not just the people who believe in conspiracies, the people opposed to it too. We all agree on this.
Yeah, that was a nice come-together moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I hope we can do that for other things, because it's a block in the way of all of our research for both sides. You know, there are those of us who support a feasible conspiracy, and there are those of us who oppose it. But people like Baker are the problem in all of them.
Exactly.
So,
and let me just point out also, since we're on the subject of lone nuttery, you know, there are some guys out there who are willing to still do the research and still be open-minded enough to have a conversation and, you know, support what they say or what they believe. And, you know, a couple of the good guys, you know, you got Fred, James, Steve, Rowe, a bunch of those guys. What's that?
I like Glenn Weichman.
Yep.
We don't agree very often, but we can be respectful, and that's important.
Right.
You know, there's no need. I think a lot of people, it's too many people personalize this case, and you know, some people have said that I'm too icy about it, but I don't really try to make any sort of a personal attachment to anyone in the case, whether it's John F. Kennedy or whether it's Oswald, because that's going to color your perceptions. It's going to mess up your research. You know, you can feel bad for people, but leave that aside. That's not for research. For research is just the evidence. Try to be unbiased. Try to present it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this the other day. I'm playing and toying with the idea of asking one of them guys to come on with me, to come on the show and have a civil conversation about things. Because I want to dive into one of their brains and see why they really believe what they believe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, hey, it could work. I don't know. More power to you if you can get it to work. First of all, I don't know if they'd come on. If they did, reasonable conversation, come on, you're being nice.
I wouldn't be an asshole for no reason. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think we should be. I've tried to, like I said, I went in originally with Baker nice. I just said, you know, I have questions. Can I ask? And it wasn't 5 minutes before I had been called vulgarity and among other things.
Oh yeah, that's commonplace.
Yeah.
With the frogs.
Standard operating procedure.
Yeah. Yeah, I put off doing that episode about her for a while. I had originally written a blog post about it a couple years ago, and I panicked when we got invited to that conference, and because as it was drawing closer and closer, I saw the lineup of the conference, and I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna be one of those nut conferences. And I mean, you know, because the names, you know, Peter Janney, Phil Nelson, Ed Tatro, Judy Baker, you know, the list goes on and on. I'm just like, oh no, I picked the wrong one to go to. Because the other one, the ARC conference, was going on at the same time, same weekend, about 30 miles apart. And, you know, they had all the good guests. But apparently from what a lot of people say that went there, it was very shoddily run and agenda driven. So I don't know. I guess it's, you know.
Well, unfortunately, I think politics on all sides takes up too much of our time.
Right.
It's like it's not as bad as the Troll Squad, but it's pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah, so I panicked and I deleted that blog post about her because I didn't want to show up there and be like, because we were showing up kind of like the press. You know what I'm saying? Like we had an agreement, you know, with the guys running the conference, you know, to cover it and you know, get it out on social media and promote it and all that. So I didn't want to piss anybody off, and I was there as media, not as a regular Joe.
Yeah, that's a smart thing. You were media, you were being unbiased.
Right.
No need to attack anyone that you're going to have to interview.
Right. But unfortunately, this is a very opinionated podcast. And so I had to keep my mouth shut, you know, even talking to Judy Baker and this and that. And it was a rough weekend, man, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah, now just having to sit there and listen to it?
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
For hours, dude. Yeah, hours after. I mean, there were some good speakers. Don't get me wrong. Like Bill Simpich was great. You know, I love listening to him, and Brian Edwards and Casey Quinlan were good. You know, but a lot of these LBJ did it guys.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, it was a chock full of a lot of these LBJ did it guys. You know.
That's another unfortunate. What's the word I'm looking for?
Myth.
Canard. Another canard.
Yeah.
An unfortunate thing that is hung around the neck of this case. I mean, we could go on forever about that. Why? I loved your podcast on it, the one you did recently.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm sorry, LBJ is a very unlikely suspect, no matter what Barr McClellan and others might think.
And unlikely, spurred on by a Dave Sharp comment. I actually gave him credit.
You know what? Dave did some good then.
Exactly. I quoted his post about, you know, when LBJ was thinking about quitting, you know, 8 months into the presidency.
Yep.
Yeah. So thanks, Dave.
Exactly. Good job, Dave.
Yeah, good for something.
You contributed before you left.
Yeah, you were shown the door, sir. All right, Carmine, let's get to the second document we have here, which is a supplementary Dallas Police Offense Report on J.D. Tippit. The important thing is the changed time of death. The two times are noted. The original is 109, the second is 115. Both do not work for the commission timeline. Now, Carmine, when I first looked at this document, did they type 115 right over 109, or? That's what it looked like to me. Now, the timing is another thing that I have a huge problem with. From the moment of the assassination to everything attributed to Oswald doing, to getting back to his rooming house, to him leaving the rooming house and getting to where the scene of the J.D. Tippit murder is, it just doesn't work.
Especially if it's 109.
Right.
Even if it's 115, that's sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that's pushing it, but...
He's pronounced dead if he's already been shot. He's being pronounced dead at 115 or 109, which now the ambulance ride subtracts more time. Sorry. It's kind of like that 72-hour thing. Not enough time. Oswald doesn't have enough time to do all these things.
Right, and I mean, I try to picture it in my head, you know, how this goes down. Okay, when the ambulance pulls up on the scene, I mean, I'm just wondering if they do any preliminary checks. Do they work on him there a little bit, or did they just throw in one of...
Sorry, I was going to say, you would think at least a minute was spent doing that. It's going to take a minute to pick him up and put him on the stretcher, throw him in and start the car, drive away.
Right.
And then you've got the entire trip to the hospital then.
Right. I mean, but you'd think that they would wait, especially with firearms laying around, till the cops showed up.
Yeah, you're right.
To take him away. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, you have 10 witnesses. Yeah, they're playing around in the cop car, and there's guns laying everywhere. I don't know.
Well, I have a friend who's a paramedic, so I can ask him if you want.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if the paramedics are first on the scene, I mean, of course, I don't know how it was back then. If when a call was placed in, if everybody got it at the same time, like the cops and the paramedics both received the call at the same time, or one was dispatched before the other, or who got there first. But it's the way I've always thought of it is, you know, the ambulance got there first and took Tippit away before the cops even showed up.
Yeah, that would be my assumption, because how did they get him there at that time if they weren't Johnny on the spot? That's another question. Where were they?
Right.
Were they parked on the street?
Maybe. There was another cop car around, but shit, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, and that's, people will say, well, then what does this prove? It's not that it doesn't prove that conspiracy, it proves the commission was wrong. Again.
Yeah, because, I mean, realistically, Tippett was dead on the scene.
Yeah.
You know, with 3 gunshot wounds to the chest and 1 to the head. He's dead. You know, pretty much. So you think, at that point, it becomes a crime scene. You know, where they wouldn't move the body until the police showed up and, you know, taped it off and did a little investigating and as far as to where was what, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and in the document too it says at 109 or 116, take your pick, Dr. Paul Mellenhoff, Dr. Richard LaCourie pronounced him dead. So he didn't just have to get to the hospital, he had to be brought to the coroner. The coroner had to look at him and then pronounce him dead.
Right. Which takes a while.
On staff.
Yeah, which definitely takes a while, you know, even. So, yeah, I mean, the whole timing of that whole scenario there always bothered me. And I actually, and to pull back the curtain a little bit, we're recording this a little early, and nobody's heard the Davy Joseph's podcast yet. But we did get into that last week about the whole timing of the bus ride and getting to the Tippett scene and the murder and all that. So if you missed that, people go back and listen to it.
And yeah, I mean, that's the whole problem with the commission's entire timeline. Is it's possible. It's not probable.
Right. I don't even know if it's possible.
But it's possible. You know, and you gotta understand, in my opinion, you gotta understand too, that the commission was not the original plan. The original plan was 2 FBI reports, 1 on JFK, 1 on Oswald, the end. That was what was supposed to happen. The commission didn't happen until Katzenbach, some say at the behest of RFK, mentioned that they should put a commission together. Who didn't want a commission?
No, I'm sure Johnson didn't want one either.
No, he didn't. Neither one of them wanted a commission.
And nobody wanted to be on the damn thing either.
Exactly, because they all knew that it wasn't a matter in my, you know, I'm not even going to say in my opinion, this is what I've seen in the evidence. It wasn't a matter of them wanting to prove something, because it wasn't criminal standards. They used a preponderance of evidence. So it was what evidence that, you know, the most of the evidence stated. But it was only the evidence they were allowed to see.
Exactly.
So if they weren't allowed to see it, how could they know?
Right. We all know about the scenario where, you know, Johnson calls Earl Warren into his office and tells him that, you know, we're on the brink of World War III here, and yeah, you know, this cannot be blamed on a conspiracy with the Soviets or Cuba or anything of that nature, you know. And then he walks out of the office in tears.
Johnson's responsible.
Yeah.
I mean, if he was, the whole thing people seem to forget is, one, he was in the shooting gallery.
Right.
If there could be a miss, then there could be a hit on Johnson or anybody else. Yeah.
I mean, it still surprises me to this day that Jackie or somebody else in that car wasn't hit. I mean, other than Connolly and Kennedy. But
yeah,
you know, one stray bullet, man, it's a whole different ballgame. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which makes me think that it was precision shooter, which means it wasn't Oswald because he had no practice.
Right. And if people think it was Oswald, you have to remember that he supposedly missed a shot, which means he was way off, which means he could have hit somebody else in that limo, no problem.
Yeah. Of course, you know, if they were shooting from another location, that might explain it.
Well, yeah. And if there's more than one shooter, that might explain it too.
Say no more. Say no more.
All right, Carmine, let's move on to the third one here. And something that I talked recently with Russ LaChapelle about, and that was the events going on at Parkland. And this particular document is, of course, from the ARRB file, and it pertains to the testimony of Nurse Patricia Hutton. Some things included in this document states that JFK was bleeding profusely from a wound on the back of his head, quotes. And she additionally states that she observed the arrival and people put him on the cart. And this infers observed his entire head prior to any medical procedures, unlike some inside the hospital. And This makes the wound problematic for the commission claims, and she states because of the massive opening in the back of the head. Now, as most JFK researchers know, it's pretty much common knowledge that almost everyone at Parkland Hospital observed this wound to the back of JFK's head that mystically disappears when he gets to Bethesda. But here we have a document from a nurse stating plain as day. Yeah, go ahead.
The day of.
Yeah, the day of. This just happened. Okay, the FBI and the CIA didn't have a chance to get to this woman and tell her what to say yet. This just happened.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think it's pretty clear what she says, and it's corroborated by most of Parkland. And if you look, a lot of people think that Bethesda supports the commission. It doesn't.
No,
If you look at Bethesda, you've got Fink and Humes both disagreeing with the SBT because of the wounds that were inflicted. You've got Ebersol saying that there was a wound in the back of the head, and even adding that there was a sewed-up wound in the throat, which nobody saw, so that might have just been his ideas. But he does confirm the back of the head wound. You've got Stringer, who is the photography guy, saying that they made two sets, which they did, which is why the photographic record is all screwed up, because Anacosta made a version and the White House made a version. So we don't know what pictures got mixed into the archives.
right?
You know, it was as Chuck O'Chelly called it, a cluster F.
Yeah. That's right. It was. I mean, and that's if even they are all not altered, which I'm not convinced that they're not.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. And there's some missing.
Oh yeah.
Well, my question though has always been to our government. So if you're listening, boys, please write this down.
Well, I'm sure they are.
How is it that they can keep millions of files straight for tax purposes, but they can't keep one murder case's files straight?
One important murder case of the President of the United States. And they lost his brain. They lost his damn brain.
Yeah. Or it was put in his coffin, who knows? You know, I mean, it's not like they were keeping track.
Yeah, it was put in his coffin and sunk to the bottom of the ocean, among other shit, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's that, and that's the thing, is that for as strong of a case as some people like to say the commission had, they had a circumstantial one at best that would have never made it into criminal court if you look at all of the broken chain of custody. I mean,
Right.
there are very few physical exhibits that don't have a problem of some sort.
Exactly. Up to and including the rifle, and fingerprints and nitrate tests and eyewitnesses.
Yeah. Picking up bullets and putting them in his pocket, throwing them back on the ground.
Yeah. I mean, it's just horrible. I mean, the whole thing was jacked up to begin with.
Yeah, no, it was just a bad. I think another book. I don't usually recommend many author books, but in my opinion, two of the better ones are Gail Nix Jackson's The Missing Nix Film and Sherry Feister's Enemy of the Truth. Sherry Feister, I am a big fan of because she's a CSI expert. That's something we sorely have needed in the community, and her work on that is great. It lays out like the trajectory. You know, in my book, I'm definitely going to be referring to her work on the trajectory. The commission set up with a trajectory from the depository, from the beginning.
Right.
They didn't check anything else. They said, okay, here's the single bullet theory. This is the trajectory we need. They didn't use the same car. They used guys that look like them. You know, it was their best guess. That's all it was.
Exactly. Now, I will say that, and I do have Feature's book. I've read it, and one problem I have with her conclusions is that it's based on, much of it is based on, I will say, the Zapruder films and blood splatter.
The blood frame.
Right. But she's talking about blood spatter analysis and this, that, and the other. And if we can't rely on the Zapruder film to be authentic and not tampered with, then...
Well, I agree that it's possible the film could be tampered with, but if you look, one of the things she discusses in the book, and I actually went and did a little bit of my own side research, because as much as I like people, I still check.
Right.
If you can go, you can go on Google and check it out for yourself. I would advise everyone to do that with every book, no matter who writes it. But it talks about how the photographic abilities at the time were not there, and you can look for, as far as, they could have altered it in time, but they couldn't have altered, like when people say they painted on stuff, it would show up under modern technology.
And it
I'm
does.
not an expert, so I don't know exactly how the process would occur, but if someone were to subject the entire Zapruder film, at least the earliest copy, there might be alterations. I don't disagree there could be alterations, but in that one frame, thus far anyway, no one has proven there were alterations.
Right.
So
I'll tell you this, Carmine, it's coming. And I've seen it with my own two eyes. And I wouldn't tell you this unless I've seen it with my own two eyes. At that conference I was telling you about, there's a couple there from Hollywood working on a 4K scan of the Zapruder film that they obtained an extant copy from the archives. And, dude, I will tell you this. When it's magnified and cleared up that much to a 4K scan, you can see, without a shadow of a doubt, the painted-in section in the back of his head. There's, it wouldn't be hard to paint green over the grass area, to minimize or nullify the splatter effect,
Yeah, I have no doubt that there's going to be problems with it once we get, and it might even take more technology development, but no more than 10 years or less. And maybe these people will pull it off. I hope they do. I think that's a big question. I think a lot of people get stuck on the films, the picture. And I understand the film is important as far as, the timing of the assassination and, for instance, what Sherry Feister did with it. A lot of people have used it for useful things.
Right.
But let's say we prove it's fake, right? What does that really prove?
Right. Well, I'm not saying the whole thing's fake. Just there's portions, maybe frames removed, maybe little things painted in or painted out. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you there. I definitely think it is not unreasonable to think they altered it. They altered documents. They altered testimony. Why the hell would they alter that?
Right.
I definitely agree. There's probably portions. I was just the only. And I've been in a debate about this. The only thing I'm saying thus far is I have no reason to doubt 133 is right. The rest of it could be.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's not.
Exactly. Or the footage of his friend's daughter at the marching band. I think that's real.
Yeah. Nice. Exactly. Yeah. So we've got maybe 4 frames. I'm willing to stand behind 4 frames.
Exactly. All right, let's get into number 4, which kind of ties into number 5 a little bit, but the next one we're going to talk about is an HSCA FBI subject file on Mr. David Ferrie. It details Ferrie attempting to create a teenage sex ring for his use and indoctrination into a cult philosophy called Omnipotent. This may explain Garrison's problems and why he believed the homosexual cult was involved in the JFK assassination. Can you tell us a little bit about this odd document that I've never heard of before in relation to David Ferrie and a sex cult?
Basically, Ferrie was using his connections, I assume, with CAP and other civic groups to try to lure 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds who would then go out and seek 15 and 14-year-olds to try to indoctrinate.
I just said, oh, okay. I said,
Yeah. omnipotent, which I think is a very double entendre.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he had this cult, and he decided he was going to set up this, basically a sex ring for his use, using the title Dr. Fairy, which is just another reason why I'm not a fan of titles.
No. Because he was far from anything from being a doctor, that's for sure.
Yeah. So he basically was setting this up, and I think that the evidence supports that Garrison may have been misled about the homosexual sex ring that was being in on the JFK assassination because of this information about Ferry. Because Ferry was connected to viable people, maybe this got mixed in and unfortunately misled Garrison.
And that's quite possible. I know Garrison wasn't too hip on using the anybody related, or I guess exploiting anybody's homosexuality or drug use. He didn't want to rely on that when it came to his case, but it definitely interested him.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised to come across this too. I knew that Ferry had definite issues with pedophilia and other stuff like that. But another one I came across too was where he snuck into a medical facility trying to get one of the boys that he had done something to be quiet. Like trying to talk him into being quiet.
But I thought David Ferry was such a good guy, Judy Baker told us.
Well, apparently she missed this one.
Oh, no wonder he wasn't interested in her.
Yeah. He was David Ferry, in my humble opinion, was a scumbag.
He definitely sounds like it. I mean,
and this, unless we have evidence otherwise, why should we believe otherwise?
Right. Well, everybody should also know, that they lost his job with Eastern Airlines because of that allegations of, having sex with a minor. So it's not too far out of the realm of possibility.
No, when all the evidence stacks up in one way, how else are we supposed to see it? Another part from this, something that might make people's stomachs turn is this report comes from one of the mothers of the boys, and her son was in Scout Troop number 57.
Oh. He's digging down that far, huh?
Yeah. So, which, as we know, in the Boy Scouts, that isn't out of the realm of possibility, considering recent history.
Right. So everybody out there that loves Judith Baker's new book, David Ferry, and thinks it's all full of happy connotations and good times.
You might want to read this document.
Yeah. Your opinion of David Ferry might change as just being a jovial good guy who liked to joke around a little bit at times, to something a little bit more sinister and serious.
Yeah, Dave was busy with other things besides this.
Right. Don't forget Clay Shaw's, chips, dips, chains, and whips, and dildos they pulled out of his apartment.
Well, I have a feeling, too, that Shaw, unfortunately, was part of the trail. I think that Shaw, even less, like Ferry, I think Garrison was right about. I think that if he wasn't connected to a plot, he at least knew of a lot of people who were potentials. Because he represented Marcello with Bannister, because he associated with Shaw. Ferry had a lot of possibles around him. So Garrison chose Shaw, and unfortunately that wasn't the one to go with.
Exactly. And that's not to say that, Shaw and Ferry didn't have anything to do with the assassination or setting anybody up or planning anything, but, Garrison was kind of...
Or it wouldn't work, unfortunately.
Right. He didn't have much choice left at that point, with Ferry being dead and, many more options at that point. He did what he could do with what he had. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough.
Well, that's why I respect him, though. I mean, a lot of people get mad at me when I say that he made mistakes and he had some bad ideas, stuff like that, but it's true.
But the guy had balls, man. He got on national television for half an hour and talked about how corrupt the media and the government was and the CIA and how they're lying to everybody and, all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was crazy. what they got away with back then.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, what you have to remember is all people involved in this case, like I said earlier about whether it's Kennedy or Oswald, they're all human. They all made mistakes. You know, they all did bad things in their lives. They all did good things.
Right, and that's human nature, you know.
Yeah.
We can't.
And with Harrison, I respect it, like you said. He did more, for a lone prosecutor, he did more than the commission ever did.
Exactly. You know, and you can't discount other testimony as well, you know, putting all these guys together, you know, like Perry Russo, Thomas Beckham, you know, all
Yeah,
these.
no, I think they were together. I just don't think that they had the power themselves. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think maybe their ideas could have gotten to other people that they were connected with.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. I just don't think that Shaw or Ferry was any integral part.
No, I think Bannister was more involved than either one of them.
Well, he was ex-FBI and he was a CIA informant, so.
Yeah, and he was Hoover's guy still in New Orleans when he's out in these commies and doing all his anti-Castro Cuban stuff down there with him. I mean, he was part of the I guess you call it kind of an underground expressway of getting, you know, guns and medical supplies to the Cubans and the freedom fighters and guerrillas, and training some of these anti-Castro Cubans to go back and fight. And
Well, I was going to say, I know for sure that, like you said earlier, he was working with Sergio Smith, because I've got one document that talks about how Bannister set up you know, I'm not going to say it's a front. It could have been. I have a feeling. It was another Cuban group, though, of the dozens that exist.
yeah, the Democratic Revolutionary Front.
Set up one. Yeah. It was just, you know, to make. Arcacha Smith is another interesting character because I think he was committed in some ways, but he also wanted to make some money.
Oh, yeah.
So, that, you know, he was using the CIA money for other things besides what they wanted him to use for.
Oh, most definitely. You know, and a lot of that stuff, you know, ties in with what these extreme right-wingers they were tied to were doing. Like the Interpen guys running, actually the ones running and picking up some of the weapons and supplies and drugs and raising money. And they all tie together, you know.
Well, that, like, Sturgis. Sturgis to me is interesting because Sturgis originally was in the Cuban army on Castro's side.
Right. But supposedly working for us.
Well, that happened after. Well, I mean, he might have worked for us before. I haven't found anything back from the 50s on him, but the stuff from 50, well, I should say 59, and nothing from earlier, but from 59, he worked, he was in the Cuban army, and it just so happens he was the manager of gambling at the Tropicana when Jack Ruby was there on a vacation with McWillie, while Jake Lansky was there, while Meyer Lansky was there.
Yep. It all kind of ties together in a weird ass way, and that's the. There's just so much going on in this case, man. So much, and it's so hard to tie it all together in a feasible, cohesive, comprehensible way.
Definitely, and that's why I said it's going to be a team effort. There's not going to be one person that solves all this.
Exactly.
There's so many different aspects, and I was talking to Stephen Duffy, another good about how I think a lot of times some officials might have set it up that we would always be putting the right pieces in the wrong puzzles. And that's why I'm glad I was able to discuss with other researchers and basically cut down Oswald's timeline to 72 hours or less. Because all that stuff before now could be a bunch of other plots. It doesn't necessarily have to be connected directly to the assassination.
Oh, most definitely. You know, it's so hard to parse out. You know, all these interconnected plots and interconnected agendas and interconnected figures, you know, because a lot, you know, even people with mafia ties back then were a lot of times contracted by the CIA to do work. And just because you're a CIA asset doesn't I mean, they have plausible deniability when it comes to you if you're an asset, because you're not a direct CIA employee. You know, they had very few of those, but they used to employ the services of a ton of people as assets.
Well, just Traficante and Giancana for when they were trying to take out Castro and the Castro Plus.
Right, and for all we know, Marcello could have been involved as well. You know, with his ties to G. Ray Gill and Ferry. Yeah. All right, Carmine.
No, I agree with you. That's where all the convergences are what I think are most important, where everything joins, and the opportunities. Like something a lot of people don't know is in '61, Meyer Lansky contacted Anthony Verona and talked to him about wanting to help get Castro out of power. So there's a lot of people that it's, I think that in the book I'm probably going to list 3 separate possible. I'm not going to say, I think a mistake a lot of people make in their books is saying they know how it happened, because they don't. If they knew how it happened, they'd have so much evidence, and we wouldn't be talking right now.
Exactly.
So I'm going to put 3 different possible scenarios that are feasible based on the evidence, rather than try to, marry myself to one idea, as some of these people do, despite the new evidence. I mean, we're always going to have to change our ideas, like you said earlier. We have to adjust to the new evidence.
And the problem with a lot of it is there's no paper trail. When you're talking about CIA assets and backdoor plots, a lot of this stuff is off the books. It's not going to be in a CIA document released in 2 years and give us all the answers. It's.
You really think they're going to release them in 2 years?
I think they'll give us something. I don't know if it's going to be worth anything or not, but I think they're going to have to do something, because, with the work that Jefferson Morley's been doing and several other people, I think they're going to have to give us something.
Well, I definitely support all of Jefferson's stuff. It's been a lot of good work. I do also commend him on the recent Bill O'Reilly work, because I was very happy to see the truth finally coming through.
Yeah, I'd heard about this before a couple years ago, but that was the first time I'd actually heard the audio, which is, as you say, the proof.
Yeah. I mean, he said it himself. Bill lied.
Yeah.
There's no other way around. Or should I say, sorry, let me retract that. He didn't lie. He made a mythical statement that is highly unproven.
Right, and to give him credit, Jim DiEugenio, I heard him talking about it years ago when Killing Kennedy first came out and he reviewed it. That was one thing that he voraciously pointed out. That Bill O'Reilly claimed to be the reporter at the door and heard the gunshot when DeMorcio killed himself. And he said that's, blatantly not true. It's a lie. And we all know of the recent troubles with Brian Williams and where his lies got him. Now we're going to see if Bill O'Reilly, who has done a complete 180 on his stance on the JFK assassination to please his keepers, if he is going to face the same consequences as Brian Williams, or worse.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
If history is any lesson.
Because he was actually doing good work back when he was on A Current Affair back in the 80s. They had a lot of good pieces about the JFK assassination.
Yeah, I've seen a couple.
And now his stupid book Killing Kennedy, which is, I will say, is one of the worst books ever written on the Kennedy assassination.
Well, we know it's not credible.
No.
His next book will be Killing Credibility.
Killing Bill O'Reilly. Oh, man. All right, Carmine, let's get to this last one here. We have a CIA memo on concerns about the Garrison investigation that include public support for what he's doing, intents on dispelling Garrison's claims, and intents on discrediting both his inaccurate and accurate charges.
Indeed.
So
the
we know.
CIA was very concerned.
Yes, they were, and his office was infiltrated just about from every direction.
Oh yeah, they put roadblocks similar to those we were discussing earlier. They put as many roadblocks in his path as possible.
Well, most definitely. They had, even from his investigators to people working in his office, volunteers. Yeah, he was getting it from all directions, and they were trying to compromise his investigation for sure.
And unfortunately, in some aspects, they did. You know, they were able to at least convince enough of the public to not believe him to hurt his investigation to where he really could get his conviction on Shaw.
Right, and one that jumped out at me that I really wasn't fully aware of until I was talking to Adam Go-Rightly a couple weeks ago was the whole Harold Weisberg thing about Kerry Thornley and getting in touch with another researcher, Fred Newcomb, to get him to alter Thornley's appearance to more resemble Oswald, to pin Thornley as an Oswald double. Whether it could be used to discredit Garrison later, or, whether Garrison wanted it done through Weisberg in order to pin Thornley's nuts to the wall, I don't know.
That whole thing was an unfortunate situation. I still am a huge respecter of Harold Weisberg. I was not happy to find out about that. But, we have to, I talked to a couple people about the issue, and, if there's evidence, there's evidence. So, people can disagree all they like, but if we're going to be fair to everybody, then we've got to call out everybody on everything they do.
Yep, and unfortunately, we've got a letter from Weisberg to Newcomb, telling him what to do and how he wanted it.
So that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
There's not much that can be said to dispute that.
No, and Weisberg was one of the earliest critics to call other people out on their bullshit,
No. It's, it's like, I don't want to use a movie line here, but, I don't know, it's like I said, it's still troubling. It's troubling on all aspects, and I know I'm going to hear some flack for even saying that, but it is. No matter who does it, it's troubling.
Right, and it does nothing but add... Yeah, it does nothing but add more obfuscation to the facts and the truth. And we got enough of that shit from the other side.
Exactly. We don't need any help. Thanks, Baker.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Thanks, Dave.
Yep. Thanks, Richard.
Yeah. Thanks, Ralph and Jim and other Richard.
You know what? If some of those people are not getting a government check, they should be.
Oh, I know. I'm just waiting for more of the Bush did it to come out.
Yeah, I'm so tired. There are so many valid reasons not to like George Bush. I don't know why they have to make those up.
Oh, I know. Just like LBJ, sure, they're despicable human beings, no doubt.
Yeah.
But you got to have documentation tying. You can't just say, well, because his boat was named whatever the hell it was. Yeah, Zapata and the Barbara, whatever the hell. That he was involved, and this is his picture in Dealey Plaza when it really wasn't.
My whole thing with the Bush, there's a lot of things about it, but the three biggest things, in my opinion, that are a problem with that whole idea is, one, in 1963, he was a nobody. He meant nothing.
Right.
His family was powerful, but he had no control in the CIA. His father was a senator. He was not a CIA higher-up. So why would they use him in a plot? And once again, I don't think that it was any agency directly that did it. I don't think the CIA or the FBI or the NSA or anybody directly as an entire agency did it. I think it was a small plot. It could have had somebody from an agency involved, but chances are it was a rogue member at best. Or it might have been criminals. There's a lot of variations to who it could have been, but I don't see... It's got to be small to get away with it. As, for instance, look at Baker and all of her minions. They were a small group who tried a poorly conceived plot that failed.
Right. You know,
So,
part of the problem with it too is, you know, when they used Oswald, who I believe had prior connections with the CIA through his defection.
at least he could have been I'm not saying that this is true, but it's totally reasonable to imagine that he was an informant of some sort, or he was unwitting. He didn't know that they were using him.
Right. Well, I mean, the whole defection itself, with the sudden leaving of the military, 3 days later he's on a freighter, you know, making his way through Europe, no problems, you know, staying in nice hotels in Finland, getting across the border.
And of course, he never defected. Actually, people just like to say that.
Right, because we have CIA agents in the embassy over there who knew what day they couldn't accept his thing on, you know.
Yeah, the guy he talked to, the head of the embassy.
Yeah, Snyder. So, you know, just the whole thing was really slickly done, and, you know, now we have revelations that, and I was talking to Greg Parker about this earlier, you know, about Operation Redskin, Operation Red Sox, and it was, you know, these operations designed to infiltrate the Iron Curtain, you know, which back then, you know, would have been ideal to do, and I think Oswald's mission was one of a longer sort, where his mission was to try to get into Russia, stay in Russia for an extended period of time, get to know, you know, the customs, the locals, how they live, what they did, and, you know, stay for as long as he possibly could, or as long as he could possibly take it, and then get the hell out. You know, and
can I give myself a quick plug?
Yeah, absolutely.
I submitted the Redskin cryptonym to the Mary Farrell Foundation. I'm waiting on confirmation.
Sweet.
I've got a cryptonym list. We can talk about it later whenever we talk about the page, but I know you've seen it. I'm hoping that it'll be a good reference for other researchers to use.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm still shocked that I came across so many. I just happened to hit pay dirt going through the files.
Oh, I know that list you had was quite telling, believe it.
Well, you know, hey, if we're going to leave it in the paperwork, we might look at it.
I mean, that even named QJ Wynn, didn't it?
Yep. Did Redskin, it named Corona's code name. It named, hang on, I'll bring it up real quick. Let's go over some of I'll do greatest hits if you want.
Okay, yeah.
My favorite was that I got Hunt and, actually, researcher Matthew Schofel, who did the great article on Thornley, he has a more extensive list that he's putting together of some of the code names of Phillips. But I got a couple of them. He's definitely the guy to talk to about Phillips, though. Find it.
Yeah, and I'll get you to send me this list again, and I'll put it up on the site too when we post a podcast, so people can actually take their time and dig through it. Because we're just gonna cover the hits here.
Yeah. So, like I said, one of them was Redwood, which is an information indicator for Soviet Russia. Red Coat, which is an accent indicator for Soviet East European Division. So basically the Iron Curtain country. Traficant, who was Santos Traficante.
Right. Yeah.
J-Mark, which was the umbrella cryptonym for JM Wave. Just looking for names everybody might know. Amnorm, who is Nino Diaz. Of, I believe, the Diaz-Lanz brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Amyam, which was the MRR, the Cuban Exile Revolutionary Movement. And BK Trust and BK Herald, which are the agency's cryptonym for itself. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah, like they have to do that, but you know, that's what the CIA does, man. Everything's a secret.
I'm sorry, you were saying?
I said everything's a secret, even when they refer to themselves, you know.
Exactly. Well, that's the problem when you lie so much.
Exactly.
Eventually, you're going to get caught on them.
Yeah, and I think, Bill Sipich had some good work on the defection as well, and his thesis of a lot of those documents being part of a mole hunt.
Oh, it's totally possible.
A lot of those duplicate documents.
Yeah, I haven't read any of it, but that seems totally plausible. I've heard he does a lot of good work, and I support most of the people at the Mary Farrell Foundation. As you know, I'm Mr. Salt, grain of salt. I don't believe everything everyone says from anywhere, but I think that there's a lot. The Mary Farrell Foundation, I owe a lot to them because of the documents they make available, and I think that's a great resource for everyone to use. Because with books, even my book, I hope people enjoy it. I aspire to make it a great book, but it is worth still looking at the documents yourself, no matter what book you've read. No one book, much like no one person, is going to solve this.
That's right.
So look at the documents. Don't always take an author's word for it.
Exactly. So, Carmine, when can we expect your book?
I'm hoping as soon as possible. This year, I promise. I wanted, originally, seriously, I'm doing it all from the ground up, so I'm learning as I go, and, I have a very shoestring budget, so it's just me and some volunteers.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, totally, which is why I was glad, that we became friends, and I talked to other good people online. As much as we have the roadblocks and the problems in our way, there are good people out there helping too.
Oh, most definitely. And when your book does come out, I want you to come back on the show, and we're going to get into it.
Oh, I appreciate it, definitely. And yeah, even if you want to talk about documents before then, I'll always be able to find. I've got about 1,000.
And I'm sure some more fun moments will pop up online.
Oh yeah, you'd be surprised. Some of another one of my favorites that I talked a little bit about with Chuck Vitelli is just the list of people who were involved in the Castro plots. I can't believe they didn't burn that. Where they just made a list, which includes Dulles. That's what originally got me onto his trail, about him lying to the commission.
Right.
People say that they wouldn't just leave all the plans. Yeah, they would.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know. Most of them didn't realize that one day there were going to be people like us poring over the files.
Right, we're their worst nightmare to ever come true.
Well, Dulles was wrong. The American people do read.
Right. And, they should have seen that coming. I mean, with as many academicians and just regular folks that have an idea that maybe we're being lied to by the government, would never look into this.
What's funny is you and I, how old are you, if I may ask?
41.
Okay, I'm 37. We weren't even around.
No.
So the people that they thought were going to always believe them might have, but not us.
Right.
We had no invested, belief in them.
Well, a lot of the older crowd, they didn't really hold the belief that their government was capable of lying to them.
They didn't want to either.
Right. And our generation,
we've
seen too many things, man, in the meantime, to make us question the integrity of our own government.
Look at the last 15 years. We've seen they've allowed the housing market to be destroyed. They allowed the middle class to be compromised. They allowed the banks to get away with it.
Yep.
And that's starters.
Yeah. 9/11.
Yeah. How many screw ups? Like with 9/11, and I know I'm going to hear about this, but I'll make this an exclusive for you. I do not support people like Fetzer or almost anyone who says a lot of things about 9/11. And this is why. Because the documents are going to be hidden for at least 50 years, just like JFK.
Right.
So, until we have them, we're just guessing.
Exactly.
Right now, it's like as if the Warren Commission had just released its report.
Exactly. and their report was full of shit as well, as you know. But like you said, we lived through, Iran Contra. We lived through them lying about going to war and the reasons for war. It's just more of the same.
Yeah, we lived through the Clinton blowjob. We lived through.
Yeah.
we don't. I'm sorry to say, but unless a politician earns your respect, there really is no reason to respect them.
Right, and they did learn something back then, because they had the invisible boogeyman, the communist, okay, which allowed the defense industry to keep on churning. Now it's shifted to a terrorist.
Exactly.
The nameless, faceless enemy, who could live next door to you, who wants to kill you. The moment the opportunity gets to them, they will take it.
New act, same act, new name. Exactly.
Well, Carmine, I think we'll wrap it up there, man. We're an hour and a half into this thing. Hopefully people have listened to the whole thing because, there's a lot of good information here.
Oh, no, I'm very glad to have been here. Like I said, I'll be looking forward to talking again, and, we can talk about whatever you want. We can go on similar subjects to these or move on to whatever you want to talk about.
Cool. All right, you want to plug your website real quick? People can go check it out?
Anyone that wants to check it out, it's tpaak.com, tpaak.com. The Facebook is facebook.com/neepmg with a capital MG at the end, or you can just Google my name and it should bring it up. It'll also be interviews like this one, which I hope you all will listen to. And I want to mention once again both Gail Nix Jackson and Sherry Feister's books. Also, if you get a chance, listen to some of Rob Clark's other podcasts. They're very good. I enjoyed the Punching Judy one quite immensely.
Thank you, Carmine. I concur. Those podcasts are pretty damn good. But, of course, I'm biased, so. Anyway, thank you, Carmine, so much for coming on the Lone Gunman podcast on the 50th episode. I appreciate it, my friend. All right, Carmine, you hang on the line here. I'm going to talk us out. People, head over to the new website, tlgpodcast.com, for all the new episodes, new blog posts, the forum. We can discuss topics over there. That's where I'm sending you from now on. Still do check out 22november.wordpress.com for all other assassination-related things. That's it for this one, people. Thank you for joining me. This sumbitch is in the can, up to the satellite, beamed down directly to your ears. This is your boy, Rob Clark, out.